played one of his most famous works, Lotus Land, in Georgia when I was still studying. And I was just fascinated with the beauty of the music and the beauty of the harmonies. And throughout the years, I always wondered what the rest of the works sounded like. And I started to look for music and for the recordings, and I found that he wrote nearly 400 works, and also for piano, like really a lot of beautiful pieces that deserve to be played. And so on this album I made a collection of pieces that connect to each other in a very nice way, because it's called Visions. So it's starting from the night till the morning, and so it really takes you to another world with the harmonies, with the moods, and with the aspects that really are very special for his music and for his character. So this is a house where Cyril Scott lived. It's a beautiful house, quite spacious, with beautiful garden. And the plaque was just unveiled to honor the fact that he spent quite a long time of his childhood in this particular house. He lived in the times, he was contemporary of Tbilisi, Stravinsky, and he studied in Frankfurt himself, and he was a great friend of Percy Grainger, and his music was played and very much appreciated, but somehow it got forgotten, and I think it's a really good reason to get back to it and try to discover even more and more, because there's a lot to discover, especially if you go deep into and dive into his pieces. That's really something special, I think. His music sounded very modern, so maybe that's the reason why his language was not so easy to understand in a way, because if you compare some of his pieces that's also on the CD, even sound like later Messiaen, for example. It's really a big surprise to hear that, but also you hear a little bit, of course, the influence of maybe a little bit of Ravel, a little bit of Debussy, but it's really a different way of writing, because it sounds very oriental, and it sounds like a different zone somehow, like a different world to me. So, and the harmonies are very special. We found here the cast of hands of Cyril Scott.
These are a cast of Cyril Scott's hands and the death mask, so a cast of Cyril Scott's face that was taken after he died. We also have a bust that I think was made after he died, so probably from the death mask. This is a bronze sculpture by Charles John Allen, who was a Liverpool sculptor, and it's a sculpture called Taken, and a cast of this sculpture sits in the back of the portrait of Cyril Scott, which is in the National Portrait Gallery, which I think is by George Hall Neal, who was another Liverpool painter.
Yes, we have this portrait, so we can see it later on. Yeah. Where did you find this one?
This was in the collection. It's been in the gallery collection since the 1920s. We have a couple of pieces of work by him. So he was a very important Liverpool sculptor. This is not the same cast that belonged to Cyril Scott. But when you're making a sculpture, a bronze sculpture, you can make several versions of it. So this is the one that we have. What happened to that one, I don't know.
Liverpool itself wasn't a particularly pleasant place to live. It was vastly overcrowded, lots of pollution, crime, noise, smoke, smell, horrible place to live. So the rich people wanted to find somewhere that was nice to live. And so they looked across the Mersey, and they saw what they saw was a nice green hill
So that's where.
At the same time, they developed safe ferries to go across the Mersey and back again.
We saw them just today. We went to see them. Yeah.
Well, they didn't exist, of course. I mean, the only way to get across the Mersey was in a rowing boat before that, which was very dangerous.
Yeah.
And I mean, that was one of the reasons for Birkenhead existing at all, was that there was this priory that I think you went to today.
Yes.
The priory was, the monks there had a charter from, I forget which king now, but a charter to provide a ferry service across. So the monks would row people backwards and forwards. Oxton was a very mixed community. It was a very cosmopolitan community. Had people from, who were coming from France and from Germany and from just all over the world, basically.
Yes. Well, he moved from Oxton when he was 15. He went to Frankfurt.
Yeah.
So that would have been 89, what is it?
1890,
93, 94, something like this. So this is already, and from what I understood, he really, when he went to Frankfurt and he saw the life of the big city, actually, he didn't really want to come back to Oxton in a way. That it was.
Well, I think that's true. I mean, it has been written, I think, that he thought that that Oxton was a bit boring and a bit bourgeois. It was, full of people who weren't very interesting. But I think he was quite blinkered, because one of the things that was going on in his life around about that time and thereafter was the women's movement for the vote, the suffrage. So there was the suffragettes and the suffragists and there were lots of those in Oxton.
In Oxton, based here, really.
So there were a lot of very courageous women.
Yes.
The sort of women, it tended to be women from the sort of middle classes, rather than the working classes. So they would have been people that they would have been, the wives of people his parents would have known and he would have come into contact with.
He was discovering different religion and also the philosophical aspect of human beings, and you hear it, of course, in his music, because there's quite a lot of meditation and quite a lot of this abstract Zen feeling, what he wanted to reach in a way, and what he was looking for. And that's always the case. You always hear what composers' personalities about in their works, right? So this is a case as well, and I think when you listen to his music, it's a very good atmosphere that creates this atmosphere of peace and quiet and takes you to the other time, also stops the time, I can also say. So that's what he was trying to do a little bit, maybe. If you say Cyril Scott, the first thing that comes to mind is harmony, probably. It's harmony, not only musical harmony, but generally harmony. This is what his music is about.